Own the dot. Decentralized digital identity. Get yourself a Handshake name. Censorship-resistant and permissionless. Own the dot today.
Are we on?
Enjoying the event?
Yeah. This is fantastic. Thank you for doing this again.
Yeah, it gets us all excited. And day 3 is always our kumbaya, right? I remember the first year's was really cool. That like last day sessions and everything. We'll replicate it, getting a lot of good feedback in the group. Mainly the slides are hard to see, at least for me. I don't know if others can see those.
Yeah,
but yeah,
the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it was like one big long screen. How you been? So yeah, you're dressed up nice.
Yeah, dressed up. I saw Professor Buckles. I had a suit on, so I had to put mine on.
That is amazing. Professor is going to be mining in a university in Texas.
I mean, yeah.
It's really
cool. I spoke at one of his sessions, but in his classroom. It was
wow.
It was really great to, it was really great to talk to him. You should do it too sometime.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to.
Yeah.
So we have some slides. So this, of course, we're discussing there's so much to talk about, and it's hard to see still.
It's very vertical. Can you cut the screen size a little bit?
Yeah, we have to. So we made some slides. We're going to talk about HIP 18 and HIP 20, which are handshake improvement proposals, which are posted on GitHub. And some people have seen these posted. They were just posted. Oh, there we go. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay, so we're going to go through these. They have been posted on GitHub a couple of days ago, and this was converted into slide format based on those GitHub write-ups to make it more visually appealing. And we're going to go through these. So this is HIP 18, which is arbitrary DNS resource to basically put more on-chain DNS data for more decentralized naming. So maybe let's stick on this. So we'll go through what is HIP 18, some of the current reasons of the limitations in the current protocol that are reasons for bringing up this proposal, the changes, going into some of the technical and benefits, and then how we could get it to be activated if it's approved. Andrew, do you want to?
Yeah, I can share some of the background about this.
I think it would be great. I'd love to hear.
Because you're a critical part of this. So this is a discussion, even when we were building and designing the protocol, on whether or not we should allow our arbitrary DNS records on chain. And I think there was a lot of kind of back and forth initially amongst the team on whether we should do it or not. And I think ultimately we decided not to, but it wasn't one of those decisions where we had a super high conviction on. And so that was like the original intent. But as we thought about this more, we realized this could be a good addition. I know the other Andrew Lee, I'm not real raising gun, by the way. There's 2 Andrew Lees on this project. And this was an idea that he wanted, and I think that motivated you to write an article about it and propose a HIP a while back, maybe a few years back.
Yeah,
right?
I put the link in the chat. I call it re-record, and I put a subdomain on Sky Include, so it's not a hyperlink, but people could type it in. Yeah. But yeah, I love this. I got involved after mainnet, but I dug through the GitHub because I think it was JJ posting about this I'm still not that familiar with GitHub, to be honest with you. I'm getting better. But there was he was talking about how he spoke to some ICANN person, and they said, from what I gathered, they told him or advised him not to do this because it would make it too heavy. And they basically said you should just allow people to point to off-chain, or just be the TLD. And then don't host any data on the TLD, and then point to like a name server, things like that. It seems like he got swayed that way from some ICANN person during 2018, 2019 discussions. I think JJ wrote up like a phone call he had with some expert from ICANN that advised him not to put it on the chain because it would make it heavy, etc. That's what I remember about this
Yeah, and I do recall like that guy came to our office. We
Yeah,
were
some
in San
ICANN guy.
Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco at the time. And yeah, I won't dox his name. It might be in the GitHub or whatever. But
Yeah, I found his name. I looked him up.
I can associate a DNS guy, and he came to our office, and he just made like this pitch. I think they spoke for 4 or 5 hours, right, about this, and he made this case that this should all be off chain. And then the odd thing for me was we wanted to include him on the allocation, and I think we did allocate to his name, to his domain, so that he could claim the handshake from his name. And I don't know if from the domain that he had, I'm not entirely sure if he even claimed, but what was odd is he seemed so enthusiastic about this idea that we thought he was excited about the project, because somebody comes to your office and basically makes this case. And what I found odd is he never engaged after that. It's almost like he saw the GitHub issue get engaged, and I thought we had one like a big DNS supporter and ICANN advocate, but he just disappeared. And so I always just found that a little bit odd, and he hasn't been involved ever since that one day he came to our office. And I don't know.
I don't know. Like I know Handshake was always designed to be the soft fork, we called it, and to integrate with ICANN and the legacy. They have always known. Well, I went to the ICANN event in Hanoi last year, about this time last year, and ICANN knew about it. They've always known about it, and they've just ignored it, or they're trying to they didn't know about it. I think they're even more specifically trying to get some of the people supporting it to leave. And I don't have proof of that, but they're fully aware of Handshake. Yeah, I think they're. But anyway, I support this. As of course, I wrote an article about it years ago. Yeah, like you said, I think most people support this. It's basically, it's a little bit heavier on chain with putting more data on the chain, but
it would remove the need for name servers, which would be basically a big plus. It is friction to using Handshake, and without that, I think it could be a nice app.
I think it would give more utility to a bare TLD or a smaller set of SLDs. But I think if you were still going to sell SLDs or have a large number of SLDs, you'd probably still do it the current way. But I think this is more like if you buy you have a TLD, or you just have a few SLDs you want to use or give to your community or friends, you could do it this way. But I think if you want to have like a scalable, more traditional Web 2 style SLD, TLD, maybe the current way, but I don't know. This would be more friendly to people that get a TLD they like, and they just want to use that as their username, and they want to put some on-chain data. This is what this would be more for.
Yep.
I don't know if we would have welcomed feedback. It's like the idea is to get feedback on this in the event and then the session. But I feel like I've not gotten much resistance from this when we've passed it around in the previous times.
Hey, did you put these slides are great, by the way? Did you upload them anywhere?
No, I didn't know this was made recently, but no, it's not uploaded. I could quickly put it somewhere.
Yeah, maybe put it up on Sky Include somewhere so that other people can.
I'll put on.
Because I know we have a lot of slides to go through here. Manny, if you wanted the next one.
But yeah, I feel like this. Maybe we quickly finish this one. I feel like this is the easiest one But basically, the idea is you could actually set these on chain, right? So the idea is you would update. Right now, you can only update like TXT and some NS and some other things people might be familiar to point it usually somewhere else, or just have some limited data. But this would actually let you put the data just like a normal Web 2 domain onto the blockchain of Handshake at the TLD or even SLD level, and then it would just go directly on chain rather than having to have it stored off chain somewhere else at a name server. The other Andrew Lee, he says that would give more censorship resistance. I think when he put these online just recently, he says censorship's on the rise. I don't think anybody here can question. I don't know anybody here can say censorship's going down. So he's feeling this is more and more important to do. But yeah, I'll put these online. Anybody have questions or feedback in the chat? It's quieter. Usually the chats all light up. I think people are all serious now. It's meant to be a conversation, unless we broke the chat. I think there's too many emojis the other day sometimes. But I feel like this has got no resistance. I feel like I guess the reasons to resist would be maybe keep going, Manly. Yeah, it's just people are. I think maybe the reason is people, just like actually in Bitcoin, there's a whole argument about ordinals and on-chain like art and things like that. I don't know if people follow that conversation. This might be somewhat similar because it would be more data on the chain. It might make the node bigger, right? Because there'd be more data. That might be one reason to not be. Yeah, I think maybe Namer Tips is tries to get the idea here.
Yeah, and then so there was a question here: would it bloat? Yeah, bloat the blockchain? Yeah, maybe. But the blockchain, the way it currently is, there isn't much on it, so it's pretty light as is right now. And I know there were a lot of concerns about scalability and these types of things. And actually, there was a lot of discussion around Bitcoin scalability right before we launched Handshake.
Yeah.
And so there might have been some biases here. But if you look at modern chains now, basically, if you look at a lot of modern chains now, they're full of stuff, right? Ethereum, Solana, these types of things. And yeah, I think adding more records on chain or just making the blockchain more useful now couldn't hurt.
Yep. Again, there is concern. Who knows? Like, hopefully, this becomes everybody in the world's using these. Maybe that was some reasons it wasn't done before. It might make it heavier, of course, but it's going to be not image data, right? It's going to be text data on the TLD. So I don't know how many of you. I do recommend all of us try to get more familiar with directly working with the blockchain of Handshake. But if you do that, like in a Bob Wallet or HSD, or even on Namebase or ShakeStation, there's the on-chain records. So you would see that you have to pay a mining fee, right? There's different fees on Namebase, etc. To do that, you have to pay a fee because it's actually going to a blockchain. It's creating an on-chain transaction. So normally what you can only do now with that is point to a name server, which is normally an off-chain, right? So it's like Eskimo's built a Varo. I use a fork of that. I have domains.skyinclude.com, which is a fork of Varo domains. But yeah, it's off-chain, right? It's not on-chain. So if somebody points the name record to there and then they update their A record or their C name, similar as DNS, that's stored on my server at the domains.skyinclude.com. So in a more and more censorship world, of course, my domain I'm hosting, I think I host that on like DigitalOcean. So if DigitalOcean takes my server offline, those records are wiped, right? So the difference here is this would be on the Handshake blockchain natively, your A record or C name or whatever, right? Just like on your Web2 domain, and it would be on the Handshake blockchain. So of course, the way to censor that would be just similar to Bitcoin. You'd have to take off everybody, take off all of them to take it off. So and it also seems more like decentralized and permissionless, right? But right now, the way it works is you only can point to another place for those records. You can't put those records directly on the Handshake blockchain. So I hope that's more clear. So this would allow you to do that. I hope that's clear. I just want to make sure everybody's understanding. I put this on Sky Include, so I'll link it in the chat. That's the link for HIP 18. Which are these slides. Of course, you can read the GitHub. So then to actually make this active, it looks like this is a list from what I got from the GitHub. They all have to upgrade, right? So everybody has to upgrade to support this. That means hard fork in the definition of it has to be 100%. So we did do this. You have to get basically every miner to update their code. There are no consensus rules. Maybe this is Zipkin. This is anonymous, but
I think they're quoting Zipkin. I think So this probably requires some discussion, but I think there was a question as to whether increasing the size of what you're allowed to put on chain or something. There's some hard coded limit that might have to be that could require a hard fork. There's another question in here: is what is the impact for TLDs? I don't think there's any impact for any of TLDs that are already registered or being used. The only impact would be really nodes and miners, full nodes and miners. And and there's another question around who decides, just like Bitcoin, if it's a soft fork or a hard fork. There's this long debate on what you need for an upgrade. Is it the miners or is it the developers? Or is it the nodes or all these kinds of things? But in general, you'd want consensus across all of them. And Handshake's gone through a few hard forks, right? Or we've done a few hard forks and a few soft forks as well.
This is just like Brian, right? Brian Buckles, they're going to be mining, right? They're having an ANT3 miner from Bitmain, and they're going to have it running there, and they're going to use a pool probably. And then they're probably going to go to via BTC, which is, of course, we know the big one. And there's other ones like Ant Pool. There's pools, right? And then those are running softwares to keep the blockchain following a consensus. And then if you want to change that, this is a change to that. They have to update their code at the pool, right, to recognize the new code. And you got to get them to update. So you got to contact them and get them to update. Yeah, I've talked to Zipkin about it. Zipkin even came here. He was here on day one at least, and he was talking to me in DMs. And he even told me back then with this one, you'd have to, there's still code changes that need to be done to recognize that type of data. I think Falchi's also talked to me about this. You might not need to do a hard fork. You need to still categorize that data on chain through a code change. You have to be able to know what that record is. So while it can store up to 512 bytes of data, you won't be able to interpret that. So there has to be code changes.
Cool. And yeah, there's a question here that somebody asked a while ago, I think, about whether this would make a difference to AI agents. Actually, that's a good question for you, Mike. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff with AI.
I'll be honest, actually, I feel like even almost a lot of what the way it's built is okay. What I tell people about AI agents is the same as a human. It's just another way, another client that's interacting with code, right? So does the agent need to put this on chain, or does the agent care if they have to point to a name server off chain or wherever and then update it? Just really think about it. Is a robot or a human? Should a robot be able to do it, or should a human be able to do it? So the same decision. Does a robot want to have their A record and C name on chain, or does a robot want to have their A record and C name off chain? Because that's basically what it's saying. Do you want to have your A record? I think you guys hopefully know that, right? You go to Cloudflare, you point your domain, your .com, you want to put it somewhere, you put to the AP address, A record, or you put a C name. So basically the really boiled down difference is you put the A record or C name on chain. That's what HIP 18 is. And maybe there's some clarity about hard fork, short fork, but there's definitely code changes that have to be done to recognize A records and C names on chain. There's no question about that.
Cool.
But yeah, I think, to be honest, Web 2 is easier for agents for me. It's harder for me to get agents to do on-chain stuff, in my experience, just in a couple months. But of course they are, and there's obviously a lot of, especially in Ethereum and Solana, there's more and more agent stuff on-chain happening. And they have their own wallets, and they have their own ability to do things. Okay, so let's go to HIP 20. So this is reduce Urkel tree interval to one block, which is a bit more technical. So HIP 18 is a little bit, hopefully, easy. Actually, if that was complicated, this is even more, a little bit more complicated. Maybe move to the next slide, Manly. So I don't know if you want to give, I like your history or your background of this, Andrew. Maybe just go to the what is slide. Sorry, we're not sharing our screens. Maybe here. Yeah, and do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I think from a user perspective, every single time you make a change to the records on a TLD, typically it's taken, you might have seen, it takes a while, right? It takes maybe up to 6 hours or something like that for the update to take place. And that's because the Urkel name tree, or for it to update on chain, a commit on chain, it does that every 36 blocks. And the change here is really to reduce that 36 block interval to one block.
Yep. So some of you should see it. I think if you hopefully have done on-chain things, even in Namebase and other places, it doesn't happen within one block. Obviously, everybody here has bid on names from even a centralized marketplace like Namebase that has to go on-chain. So you hopefully have learned about the blockchain that way. So it's mining, right? And you got to wait for the block, and then maybe you check a block explorer to see if your bid went through. Same as happening here, but the way this was designed, it was an Urkel tree, and it's designed to do it every 36 blocks, which a block is about 10 minutes, similar to block Bitcoin. Nobody knows how long it'll take for the miners to crack the code and solve the puzzle. But so 36 times 10 minutes is approximately how long it will take. Yeah, auctions are up next. Johnny, great to see you here, buddy. So the idea here is it would happen right after one block, which is about 10 minutes. So the idea here is, instead of having to wait for 36 blocks to update your records, you would get it in one block. So I think it's another censorship resistance update for the on-chain of Handshake. So this is the problem, which we said it takes too long. You're waiting too long. So instead of 36, it'll be 1 block. And I don't know if people have a feedback about this. I see a Q&A tab. Yeah, so Namer Tips is saying, what's the trade-off? Yeah, this one we probably got a little bit deeper technical research, and maybe we don't say 1 block, maybe we say 4 blocks. I think the main point is faster updates at the Merkle tree. And I do think this one's newer for me. The HIP 18 I've known about, and I think a lot of people have known about. But I think maybe there's got to be a little bit more technical investigation about that. It might put a little bit more strain on the chain if it's every block updating the Merkle tree. But
yeah, and I actually didn't know it, but testnet is already 1 block, huh? So there was a previous slide that said testnet was already testnet 1 block. I didn't realize that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so some people are saying it's no problem. Yeah, if you read the GitHub from Josan King Andrew Lee, he says it's too long. He's saying it's too long with censorship on the rise. If I need to update something, I got to wait 36 blocks, and it's too slow. The problem is it is too slow. I think he's feeling like the alarming amount of censorship in the world is creating more need for something like Handshake, and for a dot, it's not convenient to wait 36 blocks to update my.
Yeah, I think I had one scenario that I wanted to bring up. So there was a journalist that was documenting a lot of the atrocities committed by Israel in Palestine, and so he had this website called genocide.live, and it was randomly, it was censored. It was actually censored at the Namecheap level, coincidentally enough, and he had hosted his name on Namecheap, and Namecheap didn't like the website for whatever reason and took it down. And I got in contact. I told him about censorship-resistant domains on Handshake. And he was excited about that. I think somebody in the community gifted him .palestine. And so he was excited. This is a site that was actively tried. There was a lot of people working on it. A lot of journalists around the world were using. It was a resource for a lot of journalists. And if you think about like journalists, they have time-sensitive information, right? They want to be reporting things as quickly as possible. And he was excited. I was excited for him to basically get the domain and start using it and tell his entire audience. He had a lot of. I think he was trending on Twitter that day, and but when we gave it to him, it took a while for it to work. And it's just like kind of friction in those kinds of moments. Sometimes you just get a domain, you're very excited about it, you want to put your website on it, and sometimes just taking 6 hours and waiting another 6 hours. You don't have to do that with Web2 domains. You don't even really have to wait 10 days or wait 6 hours or 10 minutes rather. And so, this for people that get really excited by a domain, I think it's, they want that kind of instant feedback.
I've learned to, over the years, so many people don't know anything about DNS. I guess I didn't really know much before I got involved with Handshake. And it's a lot of these kind of like freedom fighter people like you're mentioning, like with, I forget the library one back in...
Or Library Genesis, yeah.
Yeah, that lady had no clue. Yeah. She had no clue.
Yeah.
She was totally clueless about how DNS worked. And she's like getting her domain taken down all over the place. And then I guess I wasn't involved in that conversation. I would like to, but there was confusion about Handshake. Yeah, and there was some confusion. But I think we all got to realize a lot of people don't know, right? They have no clue. And so then you say, oh, you got to update the records and you got to wait 36 blocks. And then you got to point it to a name server. And then you got to update it on this name server. And then they're like, where do I get a name server? Nathan Woodburn helped me with the Varo fork. I don't know how to install a name server. And then you got to have a name server. And then that's still the same as Web 2. And then if you want to update the name server, you got to wait 36 blocks. You get taken offline. You got to update the Merkle tree. You got to update it. You got to wait 36 blocks, which is like, what is that? Like 4 hours, 6 hours? So then your Z library, your Palestine live gets taken down and you got to wait 36 hours. Yeah, you can go back up. You can point to TLD somewhere else and you got to wait 36 hours. So I guess we can accept that. Yeah, that's what it is right now. Yeah, the idea here is to both of those HIPs we are discussing is to make it more on-chain and more quickly updated. And again, I see some chats too, like it's gonna make it too big. It's the same discussion as Bitcoin. So if anybody's involved in Bitcoin, there's this two sides of the camp. I don't feel like getting into that, but it's a similar, somewhat mini version of that here. Are you, as an individual in this conversation, are you going to be on the one, keep it pure, keep TLDs to not have it less on chain, point off chain, wait 36 blocks, or are you on the side of putting more stuff on chain and updating the chain records faster? That's the basic discussion.
Yeah, and then I think one question here is about keeping up with other features of other chains. I don't know if there's another DNS chain, but so it's not really about that. It's really I think people, like the primary sales point, like what most people are using crypto for these days, the biggest growing kind of segment aspect of crypto is for like stablecoin payment, and it's not something I'm like really excited about from like a decentralized use case, but it is a compelling pitch. Right? So you just get USDT or whatever on Solana and you send it to somebody and it goes there like immediately and there's no wait time. You get a wallet, Phantom wallet, whatever, and then you send it to another wallet and it just, everything's so quick. And so the pitch of blockchains really is that it's quicker. And like right now, at least quicker, faster, easier. And with Handshake, we've got to, we're getting them to do the private key thing and set up a wallet and all this other stuff. You have to, then you go through all that and then you got to wait another 6 hours, get a name server. It's a lot of fiction.
Yeah, so there's still questions, and I know we're a little bit over our time, but I feel like this could be. We'll have another session similar. We'll have the panel. We have an auction next, but I think a few more minutes. I think we can go a little bit longer, but we'll also have a panel later. But I'm seeing more questions.
Oh yeah, people are asking, are they going to lose their TLDs and SLDs over these changes? No, absolutely not. Like it does not affect TLD, SLD owners at all.
So the point is, if 100% of the miners move, that means all the current stuff continues. It's a blockchain is a chain, right? And a fork means there's two chains. If everybody follows the new code and upgrades, there's not really a second chain. It's all going to the upgraded chain. I hope I'm saying it, man. I don't know if I'm an expert anymore.
No, but long story short, no, you're not going to lose your names.
Yep. The goal here is to keep one chain. It's just we want to upgrade. If we want there to be consensus. It's not a proof of stake, so there's no voting with your coins or the voting is really through the miners. But what I've learned is miners want to see that the community is on board. Maybe they read the forums, they read the GitHub, they look at the chats. They want to make sure, is this what the community wants, right? So the miners want to do what the community wants, but the miners are the ones that upgrade. So I've been involved talking to miners. You're like, hey, can you please upgrade this code? I talked a lot to the Chinese miners. I'm like, here's the code. You say, please review the community. Here's the GitHub. They review it. They decide to upgrade. But you don't want to do that all the time. But yeah, they understand. I feel like we're getting ideological, which that's why I think we're waiting for the later session.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have that in the panel. But I don't know if you want to glance on this, Andrew. Do you feel Handshake's carving its own path, or do you feel he's trying to compete with the current ICANN system? Do you believe it can dilute the value through distinction?
Dilute the value it can gain through distinction. How do you interpret this question?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe what he's saying, and some of the other questions are we doing this to keep up with the newest thing? Why are we changing? Maybe are we changing this to keep up with the Joneses or to be like ICANN? Maybe.
No, I don't know. I think really the existing kind of the way things work and the use cases and things like that. It's been like this. It's been 6 years, right? And so I do think it's time to. This is personally, I don't know if it has too much to do with these specific changes at all, but I do think there is an element of we should try new things, move and explore different ways of doing things.
Yeah, I think there's governance it's a community, and there's a way, but it's proof of work consensus. I like proof of work. It's one of the reasons I liked Handshake when I heard about it personally, but things somewhat should change, and I think these two are focusing on. I generally support the Oracle tree every block seems maybe a little bit excessive. I think maybe 4 blocks, 6 blocks, maybe 36. If anybody's done it, I've done it, and you got to wait. Yeah, you update it, and you got to go get a cup of coffee, get a lunch, take a walk around, come back. But if you do it on Web 2, it's like fast, man.
And
You
it's all in the
here-
same place, right? Like, namely, when you go to GoDaddy or you go to Namecheap or one of these places, and you do it all in one place. You don't have to go to two different places and, oh, that's HIP 18. But on this, yeah, it all happens like relatively quickly. You're in one website, you close a tab, and then now you're ready to go. But
Yeah.
Here you've got to, basically.
I think it's basically both of these kind of make it more B2C than B2B. I've said that, like Handshake right now is a little bit B2B. Your TLD, you stake it, you sell SLDs, right? Of course, you can use it individual, but I think what both of these mean is your TLD is like a domain, it's your identity, and you can actually, I think Zipkin's also supported that over years. He thinks that we should focus on TLDs being a username and an identity, not as a stake. I agree. I feel like I feel like a lot of people here are like, I want to make money selling SLDs and I'm going to stake it here and I'm going to get rich and I'm going to get passive income. But I think both of these are about using the TLD or using it like as a user and maybe not getting like a million TL, being like I can, not being like I can, not like trying to stake it and get like a bazillion people registering it and I get passive income every year like that. Like, I think both of these are more like, I need to use this as a name. I need to be able to update stuff on chain. I need to be able to get it updated faster. I think that's the general point of 18 and 20.
Agreed. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we'll move on. We're a little bit over. I think it will be a little bit later today. I think our agenda is going to be day 3 is always like this, right, Andrew? I think it's a little bit later, but I think we'll jump in. Johnny Wu. I can't wait to see Johnny Wu. I think he's going to join us in the auction, and we'll have a panel at the end, so you can check the agenda. And there's a couple other sessions. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Andrew, you'll be around, right? And
yep.
Knowing things.
Cool. So, all right. Thanks everyone.
The 6th Handshake Conference, HandyCon White, Building the Sovereign Internet, wouldn't be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors, Easy Domains, ShakeStation, Handshake Swap. Our gold sponsors, USwap. Our community sponsors, Handshake AU, Own the Dot, Namebase, GFAV IP Wallet, powered by Sky Include. Thank you for believing in a decentralized future and empowering this community. Get your free ticket now at 2026.handycon.xyz